I thought I knew what success looked like. I mean, I'm a 52-year-old Brit. We're taught to sell ourselves to blow our own trumpet. But then, a 60-year-old fisherman from Quezon, with nothing but a simple smile and the catch of a lifetime, showed me I had it all wrong. One single moment that made me question my entire definition of achievement. It didn't happen in a boardroom or on a stage. It happened on a small wooden boat under the Philippine sun, and it all started with a fish. My name is Arthur, and for 52 years I've lived by the unwritten rule of the West. If you don't sing your own praises, nobody else will. I was raised in a culture where your accomplishments are your currency. Your value is tied to what you've done, and maybe more importantly, what people know you've done. Now, we Brits, we have a funny relationship with this. We're not as obvious as our American cousins, who can look you dead in the eye and declare their own brilliance without a hint of irony. Oh no, we're more subtle. We've turned the humble brag into an art form. It's a delicate dance of self-deprecation and strategic understatement. We'll say something like, oh, it was a total team effort, but I suppose someone had to steer the ship. Or just got lucky, I guess, all while angling for the compliment we feel we're owed. You downplay your success to avoid looking arrogant, but make no mistake, you want the credit. It's a social game, and I was a master. I remember when I finally landed a huge promotion at my firm in London. When colleagues congratulated me, I just waved it off. Right place, right time, I'd say, with a practiced, modest smile. But inside, my ego was doing a victory lap. I had worked tirelessly for that, outmaneuvering, outplanning, and outperforming my peers. I wanted them to know it, but the rules of the game meant I had to pretend it was all just a happy accident. Success, as I saw it, was a performance. It was about building a personal brand and making sure your highlight reel was always playing for an audience. It was about individual achievement, my achievements, my story, my success. This was the software I was running, the cultural programming that had defined my life, and I had no idea a man with next to nothing was about to expose a bug in my code that would make my whole system crash, leaving the grey, predictable structure of London for the vibrant, chaotic beauty of the Philippines is a shock to the system, but in the best possible way. The air in Quezon province doesn't just feel warm, it feels alive. It's thick with the smell of salt, soil, and something sweet grilling nearby. Life moves to a different rhythm here, a rhythm set not by a clock, but by the sun and the tides. Fishing isn't just a job, it's the absolute lifeblood of the community, passed down through generations. Through a friend of a friend, I got invited on a small fishing expedition. Our captain was a man named Mario. He was 60, but the deep lines etched into his face by decades of sun and sea told a much older story. His hands were leathered and calloused, but his smile was incredibly gentle. He had this quiet, unassuming presence. He didn't speak much English, and my Tagalog was zero, but we found a way to communicate through gestures and eye contact. He wasn't a showman, he was a craftsman. The boat was a simple wooden banca with outriggers that stretched out like a water strider's legs, making it surprisingly stable. It wasn't just us. 2 younger men were with us, his nephew and a neighbor's son. They worked together with this unspoken synergy, a fluid dance of mending nets and prepping lines. There was no rigid hierarchy on that boat, just a quiet, deep respect for Mario's experience. It felt less like a crew and more like a family. It was a little floating example of what I'd later learn is a core Filipino value. Bayanihan, the spirit of working together for the good of the community. We set out just as the sun started painting the water gold. The pace was meditative. No rush, no frantic energy. Just the vast sea, the rhythmic hum of the engine, and the patient eyes of the fisherman. For a guy like me, used to the relentless forward march of Western life, this intentional stillness was both unnerving and deeply peaceful. I was a guest in their world, a world where you measure a day not by tasks completed, but by the blessings the sea might offer. And I had no clue that the day's biggest blessing wasn't going to be a fish at all. For hours, the work was a slow, practiced rhythm. Nets were cast and drawn with only a few small fish and some squid to show for it. The sun climbed higher, beating down on us, but the mood was calm, accepting. This is a fisherman's reality. You can do everything right and still come back with little. And then it happened. A sharp, violent tug on one of the heavy lines. The reel screamed. Instantly, the calm evaporated. The air was electric. Mario shouted something in Tagalog, and the two younger men sprang into action. The struggle was immense. The rod bent into a perfect, straining arc. This was no ordinary fish. This was a monster. My own heart was hammering. As the visitor, I just tried to stay out of the way, caught up in the raw drama of it all. I even heard myself shouting encouragement like I was at a football match. For the better part of an hour, they fought. Mario was the anchor, his body braced, his weathered hands expertly playing the line, giving and taking, his face a mask of pure concentration. The younger men were his extensions, moving around him, adjusting the boat, ready with the gaff. Finally, with one great coordinated heave, they brought it alongside the boat. It was a colossal yellowfin tuna, a torpedo of silver and gold muscle that had to be over 100 pounds, a true beast of the deep. As it thrashed on the deck, my Western brain immediately kicked in. The story was already writing itself in my head, the one that nearly got away. The battle of a lifetime. I fumbled for my camera, my hands shaking with excitement. This was the trophy, the moment of glory. I could already see the photo hanging on my wall. I turned to Mario, ready to slap him on the back. "Mario, that's incredible! You're a legend!" I shouted. I expected him to puff out his chest, to raise a triumphant fist. He'd earned it. It was his catch. But Mario did something that just stopped me cold. He simply smiled, tired but deeply content. He took a deep breath, placed a hand on the magnificent fish, and then immediately turned to his two crewmen. He spoke to them in a low, earnest voice, clapping them on their shoulders. Then he looked at me, the guest, and gave a slight bow of his head, a gesture of thanks. I was completely confused. I turned to the nephew, who spoke a little English. "What did he say?" The young man beamed. "He thanks the sea for this gift," he translated, "and he thanks us for our strong work. He says our teamwork brought this blessing to the boat today." Then he added something that sent a jolt right through me. "He also thanks you, sir, for bringing us good luck." I just stood there, silent. He was deflecting the praise. He was sharing the victory. He was even giving me, the useless passenger, a piece of the credit. In my world, you don't share a moment like this. You own it. It's your story. But for Mario, it wasn't his story. It was ours. He didn't see a personal trophy. He saw a bounty to be shared. He wasn't the star of the show. He was just one part of the whole. And in that quiet, simple act of profound humility, the entire foundation of my life's ambition began to crumble. Standing on that boat, my brain just couldn't compute. It felt like I was watching a play where the lead actor refused to take his bow. I kept replaying the moment, trying to make it make sense. Here was a man who had done something truly remarkable, the result of a lifetime of skill, and his first instinct wasn't to claim the glory, but to give it away. I realized I was seeing something much deeper than modesty. This wasn't the British trick of downplaying success for social points. This was authentic selflessness. This was pagpapakumbaba. I'd read the word, but now I was feeling it. We translate it as humility, but that one English word is a pale shadow of the real thing. It's a humility that comes from a genuine belief in the group, not a fear of looking arrogant. It's knowing that you are part of a community and the group's success is your success. Mario wasn't putting on a show. He genuinely did not see the achievement as his alone. It belonged to his crew, to me, to to the sea, and to God. In that moment, looking from the giant fish to Mario's calm face, my own life's pursuits suddenly felt so small, embarrassingly hollow. My promotions, my bonuses, the stories I'd so carefully built to showcase my own brilliance, they all seemed like children's toys. I'd spent my life building a monument to myself, carefully polishing every brick. Mario was using his bricks to build a foundation for his community. His success wasn't measured by what he could claim, but by what he could provide. I thought about the endless meetings back in London, the jockeying for position, the carefully worded emails meant to assign credit or dodge blame. It's a constant, exhausting game of self-promotion. We were all so busy trying to climb over each other that we forgot how to stand together. And here, in the middle of the ocean, a 60-year-old fisherman, who probably earned in a year what I might spend on a single holiday, was showing me a kind of wealth I couldn't even begin to understand. A wealth of character, of spirit, of connection. For the first time, I saw my culture's obsession with individual success, not as a strength, but as a kind of poverty. Mario wasn't just a fisherman. He was my teacher. Once Mario opened my eyes on that boat, I started seeing that same quiet humility everywhere in the Philippines. It wasn't just him. It's woven into the very fabric of the culture. You see it in the way a family with very little will insist on sharing their meal with you, a total stranger. You see it in the cheerful wave of a jeepney driver, the easy laughter between people waiting in a line. It's a culture less concerned with personal space and more concerned with a shared experience. I started to understand that Mario's actions came from kapwa, a core Filipino concept. There's no perfect English translation, but it's about a sense of shared identity, of seeing the other person as part of yourself. It's the absolute opposite of individualism. It's why a stranger will call you kuya, older brother, or ate, older sister. In the eyes of kapwa, you aren't a foreigner or a tourist. You're a fellow human being, connected. When Mario thanked me for bringing good luck, he wasn't just being polite. He was acknowledging me as part of the day's story, as his kapwa. This spirit is what fuels that legendary Filipino hospitality. They aren't just welcoming you to their country, they're welcoming you into their shared humanity. That fisherman in Quezon didn't just catch a fish that day. He caught me. He pulled me out of the shallow waters of my own ego and showed me a deeper, vaster ocean of what it means to live a good life. He taught me that a life spent building up others is so much more rewarding than a life spent just building up yourself. I'm learning that real success isn't about how loud you can blow your own trumpet. It's not measured in promotions or possessions. It's measured in character, in your connection to others. It's measured by how much you give, not by how much you can claim. It's a lesson I'm still trying to learn, a British programming being slowly rewritten by a Filipino code of humility and grace. That day on the water completely changed my perspective, and it makes me wonder, have you ever had a small moment, an unexpected encounter that made you question everything? Share your story in the comments. I would genuinely love to read them.